Hello, everybody. What the heck is happening? Alrighty, well, that was Instagram. I don't know how to turn that volume down without listening to everybody, so sorry about that, guys. Hello, Questers. I hope everybody had a good day. And here we are, Tuesday pre-show. Let me get some hellos in here. Hello, Gloria. Hello, Jeff M. Hello, John. David. Hello, Tammy. Hello, Gary. Josie. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But I tried Instagram, but I guess I got to do something with the volume. It was coming through. I'll have to work on it tomorrow on Wednesdays when Judy will be with us live tomorrow on her synopsis. Hello, Roxy. Hello, Neil. We got the whole gang coming in here at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Beautiful, beautiful. We got a great show tonight. Tonight's pre-show is all about this. The Fellowship are sending down cameras tonight and getting their first peek inside what Marty calls Aladdin's Cave. What's down there? Why are there so many traces of gold and silver? And why does it have what appear to be a man-made exit or entrances? Lordy forty, holy Muyan. Unbelievable. Next week's show, the grand opening, is tonight. Not next week. Next week, the 19th, is called The Great Flood. Season 11, Episode 7. I don't know about this Aladdin's Cave, guys. What do you think? This Great Flood is on the 19th. And also, I have something on Episode 8. It's called A Void at All Cost. It's 2 weeks away. And that's going to be the show for tonight. We'll be on Discord at 10:30 tonight. Tomorrow with Judy at 6:45. All the screenshots, all the doings of tonight's show. Of course, it's USA only. And sorry in Canadian. Hello, Gary. Hello, Daniel, the professor. Yup, Tammy, you're finally on Eastern time. Hello, Sandollar. And I thank everybody, and I thank all my supporters, which I will get to you guys individually tomorrow. So I give a general thank you support to all my supporters on a Tuesday pre-show, especially when you have guests and they're sitting in the staging area. You've seen these guys before, part of the Fellowship on the show, The Curse of Oak Island. And we'll bring up a couple of things here. There's these two guys with their new book, The Jerusalem Files, The Secret Journey of the Menorah to Oak Island. There it is. With the pre-order of their new book. unbelievable. And a short video introduction. Tell me if you guys can see it and hear it okay before I bring them on. Here we go. Boom. Very good. And the second video. And there we be. And I want to welcome, a big welcome to my friends. Number one, Corjan Mall. Number two, Christopher Morford. Thank you so much to come on, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, everyone.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I see you got your manager with you, Chris.
So, yes. This is Mia. She's supervising tonight. Yep.
It's all right. It's all
My
right.
managers are in bed.
I want to thank you guys for coming on. I know it's late for
Thank you.
Corjan, but
Yeah.
we'll see what we
That's
can
right.
do here. Let me go to comments here. First time for a live. Looking forward to this. Thank you very much, Lisa. Everybody's saying hello. Alrighty. Good evening from the professor.
Hey, Daniel.
Hello, Daniel.
He's
to
the
hear
main
from
man.
you.
He's my backbone over here, guys.
He's doing phenomenal,
I know.
especially with that Barkhouse blog.
Yeah. And now he even says to me, John, Tuesday nights I'm so busy. I said, join the crew, after the show and screenshots and synopsises and everything else. I mean, he almost does the same thing, but at a more technical level. You know what I mean, guys?
Mm-hmm.
He's great. I really enjoyed the last post that Daniel and Charlotte did. Was it yesterday, today? Hey,
Yep.
Charles.
There's Charlotte. She's in the house.
Hello, Charlotte.
Thank you, Charlotte, for what you do. I never get a chance to tell Charlotte live. I thank her for teaming up with the Daniel to give us great research information that I post. And I even posted with this guy called Raymond from the UK. It saves my voice. And that's all for people that have trouble reading and stuff like that. And it's an audio file that goes through AI. And I think it's terrific for the older people that are sight enabled and stuff, guys. Some people, John, I want you to read it because I want to hear your voice. Well, sometimes you got to take a break from that stuff. You know what I mean, guys?
I do.
Yeah, they're a great team. I always look forward to them, to what they're writing the next week.
Yep. All righty. We got a number one question I got for you guys. Are you ready?
I guess so.
Ready as well, Verby.
I'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little feedback. I don't know if it's me. I eliminated Instagram. I deleted it right out. I don't know what I'm hearing, but
I have a
Okay,
low-flying plane going over me now. Is there a buzzing?
that's
Yeah.
okay. Here we go. Tell us what motivated you to write your new book, The Jerusalem Files. Go ahead, guys.
Couldn't sleep.
Goodness. Yeah, too much in our heads, and not enough of the information getting out on the show for obvious reasons. They can't show everything, and we had such a wealth of information that we were just as excited about, and we wanted to tell the whole story. And they can only do a few minutes on the show, and we had so much more to tell, and we were just kind of bursting to get the full story out there. That's how I felt.
Yeah, so like after was it season 7, right, Chris? That we met on the island, and then Rick suggested, we'd stay together as a team and cooperate, and we did. And we ended up with this massive body of research.
Mhm.
And like I said, I couldn't sleep anymore. And so when I turned 50, then I promised myself, I'd write a book, and had a chat with Chris. We want to join. Let's do this together. And here we are. It's quite unbelievable, but there's a book, and it has this is the war room that you always wanted to join in all its delicious detail. Nothing edited out, nothing cut out. Everything's there, all the explanations, all the logic, and all the beautiful, deep history, and the great esoteric layer beneath it. It's been so much fun doing this, and it's quite unbelievable that we have a book.
Yep, and I can't
Labor
remember the
of
last
love.
time, except for Jeffrey Irving, who said, with Christopher Columbus's theory that, the Ark of the Covenant went through the same pathway as you guys. But I've never seen something like this that you're saying, boom, the Menorah went through or is at Oak Island, period. You know what I mean, guys?
It's a bold statement, huh?
Yeah, it's like, okay, show us the money. You know what I mean? Show us the money. Do you believe the original Menorah is on Oak Island right now? If not, where do you think it is?
It's in North America.
Say that. Yes.
All right.
We should say we weren't looking for the menorah.
True.
We started this research, and that's just the direction that the clues pointed us in. We weren't out there searching for, okay, let's try to link this or that treasure to the island. We knew there was a treasure there, and the deeper we dug, the clues just pointed us in that direction. So it kind of called us to it rather than us searching for it.
So your research could have led to any other relic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, we weren't looking for this.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Why would the French want to put the Menorah on Oak Island originally and not in Quebec or Montreal?
Well, you'd have to ask the French at the time. What I've said before is that even though it was on the other side of the ocean, Oak Island was quite easy to find if it was an island at the time, because if you approach the coast of Nova Scotia, the first thing you'll see is Aspetogan Hill, which is the highest point on the Atlantic coast. The White Cliffs of Aspetogan, which is basically the entrance to Mahone Bay. So find Aspetogan, enter the bay, keep sailing, and the island closest to the shore, or the feature, but I guess it was a peninsula at the time that you hit is Oak Island.
I hear you.
It had a very big front door.
I hear you. How does Washington, D.C., because I hear a lot of things like, all this stuff was for either the war or that's how Washington, D.C. was built up. How does it connect to Versailles and the Menorah? Thank you, guys.
You always say thank you before we start talking. In I think it was season 8,
Okay.
we presented our theory that the Palace of Versailles, so the gardens of the chateau at Versailles, biggest royal domain on the planet, 2,200 acres, was laid out like a 7-armed menorah in the 17th century. Now, while researching the book, we found out that if today you would stand with your back to the US Capitol in Washington, D.C., and you walk east towards the, I don't know what stadium it is, but there's a big round stadium at the end of the avenue. You basically walk the ground plan of Versailles. So, which is no coincidence, because Pierre L'Enfant, who was the architect, who designed the ground plan for George Washington in 1791, was actually born at Versailles. His father was a painter there, and he used to play there. He knew the gardens very well, and he copied literal parts to Washington D.C. Some parts are identical, some parts aren't, but I think if you look closely, you will find that there's a menorah at Versailles, 3 mile tall, and there's a menorah in Washington, pointing the other way.
Very good, very good. Of course, Daniel's got to ask this question. Can you say what year you think the menorah was placed on Oak Island? Or is that too direct of a date to ask, or you got to read the book? Go ahead, guys.
Somewhere between, 14th and 16th century.
Okay, all right.
That's a big window.
I'd have to read the book for the details.
Yeah, we got to read the book, but we're just trying to hype it up a little bit here. Jan says, weren't there multiple menorahs in the temple? What happened to the rest of them? And could there be other menorahs hidden in other places? Thank you, Jan, for that question.
That's a brilliant question. There were 11 menorahs. Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
Right, there was 10 that lined the main hallway leading to the Holy of Holies. And then there was the original menorah placed just outside the Holy of Holies there. So yes, there were 10 other lampstands in place there. Also golden, solid gold menorahs.
Yeah.
Oh, where were
and
they?
multiples, at least until the year 70 AD, multiple menorahs survived. Because if you read Josephus, Josephus was a defected Jewish priest who became friends with Vespasian, the son of the Roman Emperor Titus. And Josephus served as a historian and a chronicler, so he recorded the sack of Jerusalem in the year 70, and he describes it basically as if you're there. He's very vivid in his description, and he describes it at a certain stage. A Jewish man called Phineas shows the Romans 2 menorahs from the secret hiding place, and then if you read the text carefully, I think you will conclude that there were even more. So at that time, we knew that in the year 70 there were at least 2 menorahs still around. It's a great question.
Yep. Can you tell us, without reading the book, maybe, who were some of the players, in this situation that led you to the not the location of the menorah, but the direction of which it went? Can you tell us the players involved in doing this?
I'm going to give you a hint. And obviously, we can't share everything yet.
Right.
I'll tell you a beautiful story.
Okay.
For any one of you who's ever been to London in England, in the city of London, you have Westminster Abbey. If you watched the crowning of King Charles a couple of months ago, you will have seen Westminster Abbey. Westminster Abbey is the pantheon of the British Empire. So everybody whoever meant something in art, in the military, royals, they're buried in Westminster Abbey. And one of the famous, it's like a huge memorial with hundreds of monuments, of tombstones, basically. And one of the most famous spots in Westminster Abbey is called Poets' Corner. So here we have, the memorial for William Shakespeare, Lewis Carroll, Jane Austen. The list is endless. They're all, poets and writers. However, go stand in Poets' Corner, and you'll see one of the more prominent tombstones is of a man that nobody knows. One of the tombstones in Westminster Abbey is for a man called John Roberts, who was not a poet, who was not a writer, who was not famous for anything. In fact, he was a rather dull politician who ended rather miserably. Still, to install, he's got a very big tombstone. To install John Roberts' tombstone in Westminster Abbey, in Poets' Corner, where, according to Chris and myself, he definitely doesn't belong. To install his tombstone, they had to cut up the tomb of Geoffrey Chaucer. Chaucer, who's the father of English literature. They literally had to cut off his arms to be able to place the tombstone for John Roberts. If you look at John Roberts and find the reason why he was, allowed to be buried in Westminster Abbey, you have the start of a trail.
Oh my
Certainly
Lord.
not a poet.
Definitely not.
Do you think through your research now that there are any more holy relics kept on Oak Island? I mean, you've heard all the theories. You've seen as much as I have, and probably a lot more than I have. As you research for the Menorah, do you still think there's more and other relics still on the island? Go ahead, guys.
I think something's still there. And if not, then the proof of that something is still there, that it was there. Of course, I'm hoping there's something left behind, and that they just have not been allowed to remove it yet.
That's what I like, that word, allowed. They're not allowed to find it yet. I love it, Chris. I love it. Because now we got this Muyan technology. I've been yelling holy Muyan for 2.5 years. Maybe more than 2.5 years. And they're still drilling holes all over the place and putting cameras down the holes and such and such. And now we're finally getting a drip and crumbs of what the Muyan technology is showing. What they show us a lot different than they show them privately, obviously. You know what I mean? But I don't think they would still be doing all this if there was, like you're saying, some crumbs left over. I personally think there's nothing left there. I got the hope up. I'm in for the ride for the total. But I think it was something was there and then taken from that area and gone into the new world. And also what Chris said, not to be allowed to find it yet, still goes in the back of my mind, that they're guarding this long, all these years. They're not going to stop in 2023. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't want that misinterpreted. I don't mean that anyone on the show is preventing anything from being found. But when you talk about holy relics, you have to be of a certain, maybe a priestly class or something, to even approach these things. So that's always in the back of my mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I think something is still on Oak Island, or the proof that something was there is still there. They must have left a marker or something like that. So I don't think we're searching in vain.
So you say it's something, whatever it is, you're saying the Menorah maybe is still there. Corjan.
Or something.
Whatever is there, it must have been extremely valuable.
Yeah.
Not in monetary terms. I mean, to me, it makes no sense to put money in the ground.
Right.
I mean, for a short while, at a shallow depth, perhaps, but not 180 feet deep. Booby trapped in a way that you'll never get your hands to it again. So I mean, our research, and I think that's pretty clear from the book, is that people were prepared to die for this, which is an incredibly powerful thing. So this was something, larger than life, that needed to be protected
Yep,
at all cost.
I hear you. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to open up the phone lines. Oh my lordy 40. One phone call at a time. We only have one line open, guys. So whatever questions you have, and also, are you guys planning for a second book, or was it all spilled out in this one book, guys?
There's always more.
There's always
It just keeps going.
I'm sure there'll be more Jerusalem files.
I hear you. There's the number. Call in. Talk to Corjan. Talk to Chris yourself. That's what my group's about. We all talk together. We all talk to the same people. Don't be shy. And ask them whatever you want to ask them, even for season 11 questions. Right, Corjan?
You can ask me anything, whether or not we can answer. I
Yeah.
can tell you that we were both involved in season 11,
All right.
and that's already pushing it, I think.
Right. The guys, they got to protect until they're seen on the TV show.
Well, you know the
Then
drill.
they can talk a little bit. But right now, whatever question you give them, they'll try.
Can Charlotte and I write a screenplay? Of course you
Oh,
can, Danny.
boy. Yes.
Nope, you're scared. You're scaring them. Don't be scared, guys. Just be like me. Mumble, talk in circles. Like the show. Always have a reaction to the reaction. And way back when they saw this, we go all the way back. Okay, and then we saw this there somewhere else. We go all the way back. We're always retracting. The show of retracting. You know what I mean? That's why I like new stuff, because I don't even put up old screenshots anymore because they show them so many times on the show. It gets kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Renee, please translate more of your content into English. What the heck does that mean?
I only write content in English. It's a crazy situation that I'm Dutch by nationality,
Right.
and we've written this book in English. So our publisher is negotiating with publishers in Europe to translate the book back to Dutch, so my mom can read it.
All
She
right.
should.
Yeah, well, she wants to.
Ready? We'll put up some pictures about the pre-show tonight then, since nobody's calling in.
Well, we can take some questions from the chat, perhaps. Are you guys going to investigate the link with Roslin Chapel more this season? No, we're not. I'm sorry.
Here's one.
Oh,
Hello, talking to John, Chris, and Corjan. Who am I talking to?
Gary.
Hello, Gary.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, I'm looking at the book cover that I've already ordered. I can't wait to read it. But it says National Treasure and the Da Vinci Code at the top, and I'm wondering what it is that binds it all together. I'm not going to ask them an Oak Island question because they won't answer it anyways.
I hear you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What a nice question. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you for ordering the book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Quite humbling, actually.
It really is.
writing a book is one thing. So I think the link here is, and this was made up by our publisher, is that, and this was, a feeling that Chris and I had very early on when we started researching, that we had ended up in some sort of a real life Da Vinci Code. So we made a number of discoveries that where one led to the other. We ended up in Versailles because I'm not sure I'm going to say. I'm just going to say this. We were, and the link came from Nicolas Poussin. We were looking for copies of Shepherds of Arcadia, and we ran into a monument in an overgrown garden somewhere in England, where
which is not Shugborough.
Which is not Shugborough, where we found very very clear references both to the Menorah and to Versailles. And then when we started looking at Versailles, after a while, first we noticed that it was aligned. The domain of Versailles was aligned with the Temple Mount in Jerusalem with eerie precision. And then when we zoomed out, literally, we saw that the whole domain is laid out like a giant 7-arm menorah. And then our research started to indicate that probably the original menorah from the Bible didn't look like the one that you see behind Chris and behind me here, like this one. If you look at the very old Jewish descriptions of it, it has straight arms. So suppose someone found the original menorah back and had straight arms. That was exactly what was replicated in Versailles and later in Washington D.C. So we, the whole, this is just a small part of the book. So the whole book is an endless continuation of one clue leading to another, where sometimes we just had to sit down and catch our breath to let it all sink in and process what on earth we were looking at. So National Treasure, yeah, felt a bit like that. Da Vinci Code, absolutely, but real life,
I hear you.
Actually happening. That's the connotation.
Yep. Charlotte asks, are there any translations of the book planned? Spanish, French?
Yes.
And audiobook. Somebody asked about that earlier.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so the on Feb 13, the book will be launched everywhere where books are sold, and the audiobook is dropped on the same date. And I think Audible will allow pre-orders as of January 31st. Now that was a new experience. You get an email from the publisher. Can you please select from 3 actors the gentleman who's going to read your book? That was one of the coolest things I've ever done.
I hear Renee says, where do you believe the first Templars Jews went and set up a long-standing settlement after reaching North America besides Oak Island? Thank you, guys.
A long-standing settlement.
Yeah, good question. I'm not sure there was one. Can't tell you that.
Yeah.
Them and the Mi'kmaq. And I know the answer to this already. Thor wants to know, are there Freemasons still protecting these relics, Christopher?
Certainly involved, right? We looked a lot at FDR, of course, and we uncovered quite a bit more about him, and you'll read that in the book as well. But strong connections there, to be sure.
Tim says, what about the theory of Templars in Brazil?
I've heard that. I don't think it's out of the question. Yeah. I've seen some of that work. Very interesting. Yeah.
But I think when they came over and they went into the East Coast, then they sort of just spread it out. I mean, they were hunted and being hunted and just sort of blend in with everybody else. You know what I mean? Have their secret societies, but actually blend in with the new colonists or whoever was there. Mostly it was the Indians were there at that time, though. So I don't know who else they would blend in with at that time period, Chris.
Good point.
You know, I'm going, okay, in 1310 or 15, who the heck was in, you know, the Vikings, the Indians, and then I'm lost after that.
Yeah, they're going to stand
You can
out
tell
a
us,
little
Chris.
bit.
Chris, you can tell us. We'll keep it quiet. Nobody's watching.
Okay, good. Need to swear everybody in. Okay.
We got to be all. We got to be all Templars. Oh my lordy! What do we got to do?
You know, I think it's fact that there was travel between Europe and North America very, very early.
Mm-hmm.
There's this fantastic anecdote about Samuel de Champlain, you know, the father of New France, who's who they always say discovered Nova Scotia and made an official territory out of it. You know, there's this story about him meeting a certain captain. I think his name is Savalet, who's from the Basque region. And he's telling Champlain that his family has been fishing in the waters there for I think over 40 or 50 years. And even Champlain himself, right? People think of these people made these incredibly perilous journeys across the ocean, and they did. What they forget to tell is that Champlain traveled on the boat of his uncle, Pontgravé, who routinely sailed to North America, you know, a few times a year for fur trading and fishing.
Okay, we got a call coming in. Go ahead, Judy. You're on the air with Corjan and Christopher.
Thank you. Hi, Christopher, and hi, Corjan. Good to see you both.
Hello.
I was wondering, do you think the Ark of the Covenant was ever on Oak Island? You're not giving, are you? Okay, I'm looking forward to this book, guys.
Yeah, maybe this is a good time to show a photo, John. I sent you a photo of a statue.
I also wonder what you're talking.
So Judy, I'll try to answer this because there is a clue somewhere in our book.
This one?
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
This gentleman here, carved in stone, is André Le Notre. He is the gardener of Louis XIV and the man who's responsible for, together with the Sun King, laying out the Menorah at Versailles. André Le Notre spent his life commanding large armies of workers, you know, changing forests into lakes and lakes into forests. He was the master of the line of sight, so he could broaden a horizon, he could elongate a view. He was an absolute specialist there, and he's the father of the French garden, basically, which has been replicated all over the world. So this man was specialized in lines of sight. Now, he's buried in the Church of Saint Roch in Paris. If you're ever in Paris, forget all the tourist attractions. Go to the Church of Saint Roch. It's one of the biggest in Paris and one of the least known. It's in the Rue Saint-Honoré, tucked in between, I think, the luxury boutiques of Chanel and Hermès. Now, normally, when you enter a church, all the statues will face you. But not Mr. Le Notre. This bust was made by order of his wife with a specific instruction to tilt his head in a certain number of degrees. And so you walk into the church, and Mr. Lenotre will be looking away from you to a spot in the back of the church. In the back of the church, in the very back of the church, there's a special chapel with a huge Templar cross on the domed ceiling. It's a round chapel.
Mhm.
And over there you will find life-size replicas of the Ark of the Covenant, and not one, but two Jewish menorahs. So, André Lenotre, the most famous gardener in history, who created the Palace of Versailles and its gardens, and whose design was copied into Washington, D.C., the man who mastered the line of sight like no one else before him, has been immortalized, having a line of sight to the Ark of the Covenant and two life-size menorahs. Was the Ark of the Covenant ever on Oak Island? I have no idea.
Holy Muyan for the gardener.
John, that is a bit garbled for me, so I will listen to it again later. One more question, guys. There's lots of talk today about the third temple being built. Do you think it will be? Yes?
Wouldn't that be something?
That sure would.
Yeah.
Of course, that was a great motivation for everything that went on over there, I believe.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, Judy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks for dialing in.
Somebody please recall, sort of wait for them to answer a question. I'm not going to put a phone call up as they're explaining a question, so we've got to try to do our timing a little bit better here. I lost 2 calls, 3 calls. I don't have no big phone system here, guys. I just got one phone, one line. Here we go. Hello, you're live with Corjan and Christopher. Who was I talking to? Thank you.
Hello, Johnny. This is Renee. How are you?
Oh, Renee, how
you
are you?
doing, Corjan and Christopher? How are you?
We're good,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to hear that. Hello from Pennsylvania. So I have a few questions. They're all kind of the same, but they kind of dovetail off the main question, which is, when do you think, first, all right, let me rephrase that. Do you believe that the holy relics were kept together and always kept together? If so, when do you think they left Europe? And do you believe the handlers were still wearing the chest pieces when handling the ark? And do you believe that there's more than one ark? That's a loaded question, and I'm so sorry. But answer as many as you can, please.
Wow,
Thank you. You want to go, Chris, or do I do this?
that's wonderful. I guess as far as the pieces being kept together, I'd have to disagree with that. I mean, after they were looted from the temple, I think things started going their separate ways.
Yeah, these things were split up to spread their sacred value.
Renee, can you hear
Perhaps
them
the
okay,
lid may
Renee?
have been split from the bottom.
I'm going to replay this because I really want to hear, but there's a little bit of an echo.
Okay.
So, and then again, if when do you think that they, whether they were together or not, when they left Europe, and whether or not he believes, or both of them believe, that there was more than one ark, and if the handlers were still wearing the chest pieces when handling them, the ark.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have no reason to believe there was more than one ark. And to be very clear, the ark plays a very, very small role in the book, because all the research and the indications that we got, the clues that we found, all pointed to the menorah, not to the Ark of the Covenant. So not sure. If it was moved to North America, I would give the same answer, somewhere between the 14th and the 16th century.
Very
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. That answers a lot.
Okay.
I appreciate that. You have a great
breast-
evening, fellas. Thank
Thank-
you.
Thank you, Renee.
Thanks, Renee.
And
Take
then-
care.
The breastplate question, I think that's a great question, and I would imagine that they would. Of course, we have no proof that they did, but that carried over into Freemasonry also, which
Mhm.
Brother Scott Clark pointed out so well.
Yep.
So that's a great question, and I would imagine they would.
And Daniel says there's been speculation of multiple copies of relics to keep the originals safe, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, sure. Decoys.
Yep. Decoys. I
Yeah,
hear you.
one of the things that we haven't yet answered, and we touch on this a little bit in the book, is that in many instances we found the menorahs in pairs. So when we found the indications hidden in art or in patterns, and you'll see in the book some of them are incredibly literal, and you're not going to believe you never spotted this earlier. But it's often two menorahs, and they're often pointing at each other, just like Washington D.C. and Versailles. And we won't go as far as to say that these are aligned, but because there's quite a deviation. But in the grand scheme of things, they do. You have two menorahs pointing at each other, which is remarkable.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Probably point out that the menorah was not this, or that size. What we're talking about is a huge object, very imposing, solid gold structure as tall as a man. So it's not these little menorahs we're showing here. This is something much larger.
You're saying
Yes,
something about 6 foot tall, solid golden, 6 foot tall, and maybe 5 feet wide.
It was man size, it was like this big.
Holy crap!
Yeah. So if you think one of the question you should ask, for example, if the research that other people have done is correct, then the original money pit was something like 13 feet in diameter.
Mhm.
That is very wide. So you have to think, why did that hole have to be so wide? If you look at the entrance to Tutankhamun's tomb in the Valley of the Kings, I think it was only like 8 or 9 feet high, and you won't believe what they dragged into that tomb, how big it was. So so the money pit must have been very, very big for a reason, I guess.
Well, Renee says, "What do they put in the holes to light the menorah? There were just candles on top, Chris."
No, it's lamps.
No.
It's oil.
This is
Lamps.
an oil lamp. Yes,
Yeah.
they did not use candles or wicks. You're allowed. You can use beeswax candles today, or oil. But no, it was an oil lamp back in the day for sure.
Yeah. So the original menorah wasn't a candlestick; it was a lamp.
It was a lamp. Okay, we got it. Do you guys think anyone with connections to Templars have been to New York? I have been exploring the Catskills in the area of Don and Zena's books. Interesting alignments found with some neat carvings.
It's
That was a question.
good question.
Yeah.
Jan says, do you think the menorah was originally looted by people who wanted to save it or by people who wanted to sell it? But if there was 11 of them.
The first sacking, that was a trophy piece, I believe. It was placed in a palace after that, and it was a war trophy, I believe.
War trophy, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So in Rome, after the year 70, and when the treasures of Jerusalem had been sacked the emperor built what was called the Temple of the Peace, which is a quite a poorly chosen name for what it was, because this is where they displayed the loot from all the countries that they had conquered. And the menorah was in there for a few hundred years. Yeah.
I hear you, but now that I got the dimensions of this menorah, and I'm a civil engineer, and I always go, holy muyan. Now I got the dimension of this menorah. Okay, bing, 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 bing. And now we get this muyan technology as far as tonight's Aladdin's cave. To put this even laying down has to be in a big sort of cavern. I don't think it'd be in a vault. I think it would just be in a cavern. What are your thoughts on that? If you can say, go out in the future with me and my members, if it's possible. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, how would they deposit it? And physically, is that the question?
Physically, and the amount of area it would need to even lay down, obviously pulleys and ropes, and they wouldn't dismantle this thing. It would be all in one whole piece, Chris. I don't think they would ever dismantle a relic. I mean, that's the pure thing of purest, and it has to be in a huge cavern if it's still on Oak Island. Do you agree with that as far as the measurements go? I thought the thing was a lot smaller than human size. I don't know why Johnny thought it was, maybe 2 foot by 3 foot or something. I never knew
huge.
Was huge. You know what I mean?
And the same goes for the Ark of the Covenant, for that matter. The Ark of the Covenant was the size of like a medium-sized office desk. It was very big.
Right. I always thought somebody told me like it was the size of a.
You would need. It's very thin if you turn it on one angle. Of course, it's very wide, but it doesn't need much side-to-side space.
But it's
and maybe to elaborate on who looted the menorah, it was looted as a trophy, as Chris said, but it didn't bring much luck to the owners. So if you carefully read through all the documentation, there's the works of Procopius, and there's various ancient chroniclers who wrote eyewitness reports about the menorah turning up somewhere. The conclusion of it all is that eventually the menorah was brought back to Jerusalem because it had brought, bad luck. It had cursed all the places that it had been in. So in the end, people were, afraid to melt the gold or to even touch it. And it was brought back to Jerusalem, where we believe it was still hidden during the time of the Crusades.
Right. And if this size of this menorah was solid gold, Chris, do you know, or if it was gold plated, it was solid gold?
Solid gold.
Gary's detectors or the Muyan technology will go right off to the beam. If such a big object, I mean, if it was smaller, okay, but I'm just going by the size as far as getting adjustments from metal detectors and the new technology we have, that should light up like a Christmas tree. In certain areas, I would say, you know what I mean? We do remote vehicles from the Earth to Mars, and if this thing is that big, we should have had an indication way before this 11 years when the new technology came out as far as ground penetrating radar in the money pit section, not other sections of the island. I'm just telling they're just digging in the garden shaft and planting cabbage or whatever they're going to do over there. But, I wish they would look on other parts of the island. But they have been with new technology, but we're coming up with surface finds. And what do you guys think about this Aladdin's cave in tonight's show? It's just a bigger cavern. What was it, 8 by 10 or something? What's your thoughts on the new technology? And exactly, we're not finding anything of relic importance, but mostly more dates with coins and objects and surface finds. What's your thoughts on season 11, guys?
No comment.
I think it's been exciting so far. I'll say that much.
True.
I like the technology. and what they've been finding. It's exciting, you know. I'm I don't know I haven't been privy to what that yielded, so I can't speak on it.
Right.
Even if I did know, I couldn't. But I can't wait to see what they find down there. That being said, I do think there are multiple locations on Oak Island, not just the Money Pit, and yeah, there's needs to be a lot of other areas explored, and I think they know that, and they're doing their best to get around to things.
Right. What do you think if they did find a relic, or say they did find the Menorah? Who would have claim to something like that?
Not me.
Yeah, I don't want to go into that. You know, we're not. No, I don't want to go into that. One thing I do want to add to the where's the treasure discussion is that the early Europeans mined in bedrock.
Right. I hear you.
So I would say
didn't
if there's
stop them.
something there, it's going to be very, very deep.
Like 230 feet deep, sort of. If you
Well,
can say.
it's not picking up on ground radar and various technologies deep.
Unbelievable. Yep. But we keep on digging. The show keeps on going. We're in for the ride till the end. And that's all we can do. We only can react to what they show us. And I'm in it to the end. And, you know, I have my doubts. Like everybody else, I give them credit when they got credit. I give them the splash if they're splashing me. But got to be doing something right with 2.5 million people watching every Tuesday night. And it's continued at that level. And that doesn't include, I don't think, podcasts like me and replays and the History Channel and all the rest of it. So it's got to be way over 3-4 million.
It's absolutely amazing. It's such a privilege for us, that we can be a small part of this. And I can tell you one thing about season 11. And we've only seen a few episodes, but this year, we've made some proper, true historic discoveries. Historic, in both senses of the word. Only that, for me, has been worth the wait.
Yeah, and like the old days, they used to go to St. Mary's University. Now I'm talking we, like I own the island. They got their own lab now, so when Gary finds something, they go through all the technology and there it is. They got the dates, what it looks like, uncrusted, and put it in the museum or whatever they have to do with it. It's just unbelievable now that we went from the other part of driving the Carmen's
Blacksmith shop.
The horseshoe place, not the horseshoe place, the iron place.
The new Ross Museum.
Yeah, and now this technology is like right now. What is it? Where's the dates?
Yeah.
Coin expert. What do you think
I
of all
think
those?
they now have. I think we have the biggest archaeological lab in Nova Scotia, if not in all of Canada. I mean, there's so much equipment on the island now, which is fantastic. So you can immediately, scan something, look at it. What material is it made out of? What could it be? Where is it coming from? So that is very, 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 very exciting.
Right, Corjan, you think we're getting a little bit more date overloaded? After 11 years of finding dates, and now we're finding some Roman coins on lot 5 and everything. I mean, don't we got the dates sort of not in a bag, but I mean, how much more can we find to define the date right to the day? No, it's going to be by the century or by the decade.
Yep.
Do you think we're sort of getting overloaded? When all these Roman coins, okay, now we're going back 2,000 years. What do you think, Corey?
I found one thing this year that I can date to an actual day in an actual year.
Wait a minute, hold on. Hold on.
They don't,
hold on. You got something from the show saying that you can get it right down to the day in the year?
Yes.
Holy Muyan!
Well, don't get too excited. We never know up front what they're going to show.
Right.
So let's wait and see. If we haven't seen it before the end of the season, I'll come back to you and I'll tell you what it is, because it's incredibly exciting. And what I also like is, and we've seen this trend over the last years, or certainly since Chris and I have been involved, is that there's more and more interest for the history of the island, which is cool. And I wouldn't claim that we're rewriting history or something like that, but we're certainly refining the knowledge of early travel to North America, and that in itself is, for me, I mean, that's the driver. I mean, that's what's in the Jerusalem files.
Right.
And I also believe that many people on the island, have the same motivation. It's
Right.
what
Like,
happened here.
like last season,
Exactly.
a light bulb went off, and it was about Nolan's Cross when that professor dated it to 1200 AD. Does that have any more connections to season 11 that you can say of, or no?
Oh, you're talking about Professor Gaspani?
Yeah.
I don't think we can speak about that.
Okie
But
dokie.
I do hope I hope they show more of him. I believe he's probably has a lot more to say.
Right. Well, of course,
I can tell you about in season 10 when we were in Rome filming with Gaspani. I'm not sure if this was on TV, but during the session, I asked him, what is the chance that the alignments, the combination of alignments, would be coincidental? So what's the chance that coincidence would configure a number of stones to align, with these stars in this year? And his answer was 1 in 35 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that completely blew my mind. And then, and Professor Gaspani is he's a proper scientist. He's an astrophysicist who has worked in this field all his life. He does archaeoastronomy, which I guess is sometimes, let's say, debated as a science. But he's worked on, on the likes of Stonehenge and all sorts of great world treasures. And to hear him say something like that, I mean, the very least I can say is that there was absolutely zero doubt in his mind that Nolan's Cross, is a human construct and had been put there to indicate alignments, with these stars and star clusters, whatever that may mean. But
Right.
I think that was very, very powerful, and it's for me, it sort of shifted the dial to Nolan's Cross is a real thing. It was put there, and of course we have our own research.
Right.
Where in let me share something else. So we have the menorah in Versailles, right? So there's a huge garden laid out like a 7-armed menorah. I think it was season 8 when Chris and I came on, and we said that the spine of Nolan's Cross points at Versailles, but that there was a deviation on the line of something like 0.7 degrees, which translates to, 25 kilometers, or like 20 miles, because it's 3,000 miles across the ocean. So which is quite a bit. It's not for us. It wasn't precise enough to call it a perfect alignment. And then when we did some more research, we stumbled on something. So if you go to the Palace of Versailles, if you've never been there, get all your savings together and hop on a plane and go there. This is one of the most spectacular places on earth. Louis XIV, who built this, was all about symmetry. So this whole palace was about being symmetrical. So even the village branching out, around the palace had to be built in a certain symmetry, which was called the royal symmetry at the time. Also, the place didn't have any towers, even though it's called a chateau. There wasn't a tower on the whole chateau because Louis XIV didn't like them. However, there's one feature in Versailles that both breaks the symmetry and has a tower. Louis XIV chose, I believe, 5, 6, 7 different spaces for his royal chapel, but in the end, he settled on its current location, which is the only thing that breaks the symmetry of the palace, and which caused quite a stir, with the courtiers and the court around him. Because he was breaking his own cardinal rule of having everything symmetrical, and this is the Royal Chapel of Versailles. And after recalculating and revisiting this theme, we found out that Nolan's cross is perfectly aligned to the Royal Chapel of the Palace of Versailles. So if you would follow Nolan's cross, the spine of Nolan's cross, follow the curvature of the earth, and you walk across the bottom of the sea, you would surface on the coast of France, you would end up at the altar of the Royal Chapel of Versailles, where you would see, by the way, on your left, a sculpture of the menorah on the wall, and on the other side, there's the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, I was contacted to get a hold of Gaspani to get him on the podcast to actually tell his whole story, but then trying to get an interpreter. I told you, I think this before, I just can't coordinate something like that. But the person that told me said, yeah, he's got a lot to say, but then I don't know what they're going to show more on the show and everything. But he said, get a hold of him, put him on the podcast, and let him tell the story, because this story is just as short as everybody else's story on the show. You get your 5 minutes or your 3 minutes, and they pick out the best parts, and that's it. But I have no way to I can ask my contact, but then as far as interpretation with him and an interpreter, I don't know if I even can do something like that. You know what I mean, guys?
I think he's got a lot more to say, definitely. And what Corjan said about the odds of that Nolan's cross not being man-made, I think that really strikes a chord, because it's not something Mr. Nolan himself, I don't think, would have considered. If people out there who believe that it's a hoax by Nolan, why would he go through all that trouble and make those alignments that are evident and now, I believe, proven?
And also, they told me from the good source from the show, the boulders are not in glacial till. So what does that mean? See, if it's not in glacial till,
they weren't there.
They weren't there, and somebody erected them in that position. So more to show, season 15 or whatever they're going to show us on that stuff. But everybody enjoyed the show. We're going to button it up, guys. You got any last words on the book, or links to where you're going to buy the book or pre-buy the book? They're already pre-buying it already, I guess.
Yeah.
You can pre-order the book on www.thejerusalemfiles.com, and we can sign one for you if you happen to be in Charleston, Hilton Head, Washington, New York, Philadelphia, or Boston between Feb 12 and what is it, Chris? Feb 19. I think it's like we're going to do like a 10-day US book tour together. And we would love to see, as many of you as possible, to see the real people, behind the comments and behind the faces. So it's going to be very, very exciting, and it looks like we're going to have some sort of a launch event in Washington D.C. 13th or 14th February with a presentation and everything. With media, and should all be very cool, and you are wholeheartedly invited.
Okay, I wanted to put this picture up that you sent. I want to explain this other photograph that you sent.
It's one of a million factoids and tidbits from the book. The Church of Saint Roch in Paris
Okay.
was accessible by a secret tunnel from the Palais Royal. So the royal palace in Paris had and still has a tunnel leading to the Church of Saint Roch, where the king and his wife could access two secret lodges to the left and right, up in the wall over the altar. This is one of them. So the king would sit behind this hole without any backlight, so people wouldn't see who he was and what he was doing. So the king and queen came all the way from Versailles to Paris to say mass here in this church, where André Le Notre is still looking at the menorah and the Ark of the Covenant. This is the most special church in Paris that nobody knows.
Unbelievable.
See you in Hilton Head, Jan. Can't wait.
Yeah, and there's the book. It'll be out February 24th, February 2024. Pre-order now.
It's the day before Valentine's Day, John.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my lordy 40. I'm going to move that. Again, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Stay in the staging area for 2 seconds. I'll say my goodbyes, because tonight's pre-show, they're just going to put a camera down the Aladdin's cave, and that's all we're going to be looking for, and we'll look around in there. But for some reason, I didn't know the menorah was that big. I don't know. I've been doing this for 11 years, and I thought the thing was like a tabletop, like a 4-foot thing, not as big as Chris is saying, human size, and all this weight and gold and all that. I had no idea. And there was 11 of them. Some of them were replicas.
Yes.
And the same size, the same maybe plated gold, but the real one, or was there 11 real solid gold human-sized menorahs? That's my last question.
The Bible doesn't say. The Book of Kings says that Solomon made 10 copies. It doesn't specify what he did, but King Solomon wasn't known for beating about the bush, right?
I hear you. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Stay in the staging area for a little while. I'll say my goodbyes, and I'll say my goodbyes to you privately on the stage again. You guys are the best. We've been together for years, and I hope we continue doing that as far as all this information, even if the show sort of stops or goes private. You guys are part of my team, and I appreciate you 1,000%, guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, John, for having us on. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and I really be an honor to meet you all out on the road. So I hope I get to see some familiar faces out there.
Okay, thank you.
It will be so cool. Thanks, Jan. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Great night. Thank you.
Wow, guys, imagine that. Lordy 40. And there we be. It's just unbelievable. You got to read the book, like all their books, to read the details. And then they'll come on once the book is out. And then you can ask them more detailed questions. Obviously, they're part of the show. So that's kind of hard that they can't answer really a lot of questions that are not on the show. I understand that with their non-disclosure agreements. But I appreciate them coming on. So enjoy the show tonight, the USA at 9 o'clock. We'll look for some camera technology to see what's going on. You'll see me and Judy tomorrow night at 6:45 p.m. Wednesday's podcast with a synopsis. And we'll have a good time tomorrow night with the screenshots. I'll see you on Discord at 10:30 tonight. And remember, members, always go forward. You may get a setback in your life, but just believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. No matter how old you are, it doesn't matter. For tomorrow is a never given. In this crazy, crazy world we live in, the world needs a ton of prayers right now. So as my friend Jan says, you keep smiling, you stay safe. Also stay strong and keep that positivity going. Be positive, mentally and physically, as much as you can. Thanks for joining me and Corjan and Christopher. I thank them so much. We'll see you tomorrow night at 6:45 Take care, and bye-bye.